Tonight on CTV, see the impacts of COVID-19 and how deodorant is causing lung problems.
Then 2 Fort Collins high schoolers are shaping up to change the future of CSU athletics.
And how Fort Collins is getting ready to celebrate Halloween this upcoming weekend.
All that and more starting on CTV 11 right now. Good evening, Rams. I'm Ren Wadsworth.
And I'm Robbie Patla. Another Fort Collins collision leaves a woman hospitalized. This is the second time in a week a pedestrian has been struck by a vehicle. Following last week's accident on Harmony Road, a woman walked onto the southbound lanes on College Avenue on Friday morning. Police say the woman was hit by someone driving a Kia Niro near the intersection of Mason Street. Fortunately, the woman did not receive any fatal injuries and was taken to the hospital. At this time, police are unable to come to a conclusion as to why the woman walked onto the road. They are asking anyone with additional information to call Officer Ken Koski at 970-416-2229.
Hospitals in Larimer County have been over capacity for nearly 2 months as COVID cases continue to spike. Fort Collins ICU rooms are housing 2 patients instead of 1 due to the excess amount of patients and overcrowding across the county. Additionally, residents with less severe illnesses are being asked to wait in emergency rooms for beds in the hospital to open. These 2 factors, along with new vaccinations slowing to fewer than 100 a day, has caused strain on hospital staff. The consistent cases in Larimer County have caused officials to urge residents to continue to receive vaccinations and booster shots in order to lower the amount of patients in the hospital.
Businesses in Fort Collins can become exempt from the recent mask mandate by requiring staff and patrons to be fully vaccinated. The Verified Vaccine Facility program requires employees to have a vaccination card and for owners to receive approval from the Larimer County Department of Health and Environment. The program is optional for businesses to participate in and will remain in effect as long as the mask mandate.
Americans use products like disinfectant, hairspray, and deodorant every day. However, research at Colorado State University suggests that emissions from items like these are contributing to air pollution. After seeing firsthand the effects air pollution had on his birthplace of India, Professor Shantanu Jathar began to research pollutants in the atmosphere at Colorado State University.
I saw firsthand the environmental consequences of a lot of air pollution. So I was, from a very early age, I was inspired to work in this particular area.
The research mostly focuses on everyday products whose use causes urban air pollution. Funded by 2 separate grants from the National Science Foundation to focus on emissions and pollutants and from the National Oceanic Association to study how pollution is initially created and distributed, Professor Jathar and his team are analyzing the pollution rate of Fort Collins compared to other parts of the world.
We are going to deliberately add these chemicals to a large plastic bag and then simulate the same conditions that we would see in the atmosphere. And we would then monitor using a lot of instrumentation how these chemicals evolve physically and chemically.
Professor Jathar argues that volatile chemical products are things used often by consumers without realizing the potential harm.
Air pollution and climate change and the linkages between two is probably one of the most important environmental challenges of the 21st century. Understanding the sources of air pollution is essentially the first step in determining how you want to regulate or control those sources of air pollution.
As the study progresses, Colorado State University can breathe a little easier knowing its researchers are dedicated to making the air around us cleaner and greener. Through research like Professor Jathar's, drastic efforts can be made into reducing the amount of volatile chemical products on the market, preventing further emissions from polluting the atmosphere. You know, I had no idea that the stuff I was using in my home was possibly harming the environment.
I know, it actually kind of frightens me a little bit. I hope the research can come back with some good results because I really do not want my hygiene to suffer as a result.
Neither do I, Robbie.
Guess we're on the same page with that one then. All right, in other news, Rams take care of rams, but do rams also take care of birds? CSU researchers received $1.5 million from the National Science Foundation to tackle the issue of the effect light pollution has on migratory birds. Artificial lights from cities alter the behavior of birds in the process of migration. This can cause them to fly into buildings or divert them to unhealthy areas. This project will test existing public outreach campaigns about light usage in the community as well as determine what about these artificial lights is dangerous. Assistant Professor in the Human Dimensions of Natural Resources Department, Dr. Rebecca Nemec, who is leading the project, says, quote, This is a unique opportunity to work with an interdisciplinary team and integrate social and ecological science to implement interventions to achieve conservation action on the ground. Fort Collins, Oklahoma City, Houston, and Atlanta will be the focuses of this study. Researchers hope the results will help them determine possible solutions for this issue.
Faculty at Colorado State University are receiving recognition and resources through this year's Campus Equity Week. This week focuses on non-tenure track staff at CSU who teach introductory classes at the university. Taking place October 26th, 7th, and 8th, Campus Equity Week will host events and discussions toward better avocation and protection to faculty members without tenure. Questions about Equity Week and the events can be directed to Pamela Duncan@colostate.edu. Don't go anywhere yet because Michelle Ellis will be up after the break to give you your weather rundown for the week. Welcome back from the break, Rams. Before his passing in late September, Walter Scott Jr. made one final act of support for CSU by expanding the Scott Scholars Program over the next 10 years. The program will receive an additional $11 million, adding to the existing support provided by Scott, which adds up to $64 million. Undergraduate Scott Scholars will receive up to $22,000 per year. This will be put towards tuition, housing, and board, and total annual expenses. In remembrance of Scott, his legacy will live on through the students whom he has graciously supported throughout the years.
The American Geophysical Union has accepted 4 new members from Colorado State University's researchers. Candidates for fellowship with AGU have made outstanding achievements and contributions to scientific progression. The century-old organization is a collective of over 60,000 members of scientists. The 4 new members are Professor Richard C. Astor, Professor Elizabeth Barnes, Senior Research Scientist Paul DeMott, and University Distinguished Professor Sandra Sakar. The new American Geophysical Union Fellows will be honored at a ceremony held between December 13th and the 17th.
The excitement for Halloween at the end of the week may be all Rams can think about. However, this week offers many more exciting events in the form of the Diversity Symposium. This year's symposium, which is going on right now, features an assortment of educational discussions, engagements, and keynote presentations on topics all revolving around diversity and inclusion. Vice President for Inclusion Excellence Colleen Cipriani says, quote, "Through contributions from presenters and moderators and partnerships with Rams Reed, the ACT Film Festival, murals, and many more, this year's symposium will truly offer something for everyone," end quote. While some events have already happened, it's not too late to register for the rest of the week. Events to still happen include CSU Inspire on Wednesday, a keynote presentation given by Kabat Professor of Social Ethics at Harvard University, Mahzarin Banashi, on Thursday, and CSU Murals, a spotlight of creative artwork and dialogue on Friday. Links to register for these events can be found in Students Outlook emails.
As the Diversity Symposium comes to an end on Friday, another large-scale diversity and inclusion event begins in the form of Native American Heritage Month. This week, I spoke with one of the organizers of this event to learn more about what to expect and its importance to the CSU community. Tucked away on the 3rd floor of the LSC lies the Native American Cultural Center, where members of this community are preparing for the start of Native American Heritage Month. Assistant Director Tiffany Kelly says this month will be tailored to the majority of the CSU community.
So it really is a variety of programs that are both aimed to be celebratory and provide space and community for our Native and Indigenous students, as well as opportunities for non-Native folks to maybe engage in a conversation that they've never been a part of before.
It also won't be afraid to tackle difficult topics.
You know, the month really kind of covers it from food to poetry to really hard things like trauma.
The month-long celebration had to be altered last year due to COVID-19, and it seems this year members of the Cultural Center are taking advantage of the in-person restrictions.
Offering virtual programming really made things more accessible, both for folks that are not here, but also for folks that maybe can't be out.
There are still ways CSU members can get involved in person. On November 9th, the Aspen Grow will hold a special menu featuring traditional Native American dishes. And on November 10th, we'll hold an in-person showing of the documentary Home from School, which Kelly describes as a tragic but important story.
I think there's some healing that can really take place as a part of these conversations.
Kelly encourages anyone interested to participate and be a part of something big.
We try not to do things in a bubble or a silo because we really want to get that reach. So, I think again, if you're curious or just not sure, this is a great opportunity.
Tomorrow, Wednesday, October 27th, keynote speaker Joshua Whitehead will kick off the events for Native American Heritage Month, which will have events occurring throughout November leading up to fall break. More information about these events can be found on the Cultural Center website. Well, Rams, that's all the news we have for you tonight.
Stay tuned after the break. Brandon Cruz will introduce us to some high school athletics who may be impacting CSU in a big way.